All right, it is Thursday, February 21st, and this is a meeting to check in on community outreach tasks for Backdrop CMS. According to our agenda, our goal is to get people talking about Backdrop. So we know we can use the website to do that, and we have a bunch of outstanding items that we think will make using the website better for people. Top of the list, number 442, is making modules, themes, and layouts search pages better. We hit a snag with that over the last few weeks. Nate found a SQL injection issue with my patch that I submitted. So that was a patch I had applied to core, so I have since unapplied it from core. He is working on a new SQL string that will be better for adding search relevancy to titles at a much higher level than it does for content. It looks like it's already supposed to do that because the way the search relevancy thing works is that it gives different weight to items in different HTML tags. So it's supposed to like scan the body tag. And if it finds an H2, that string is more relevant than a non-H2. Or if it finds an anchor tag, the text in the anchor tag will be more relevant than the text that's not in the anchor tag. But what it does is it takes the node title and it wraps it in an H1 tag and it appends it to that massive string of text before it does that filtering. And the H1 title tag is supposed to have a lot more relevance than all the other ones. So it's already supposed to be weighting it more, but for some reason that's not working in the way that we would expect it to. So Nate did a bunch of digging in to figure out like what was wrong with the query that made that not work right. He's got a recommended fix in the issue and we need to test that. So we're getting there, but I was really excited because I thought it was fixed and it's not. So I will try and test that. I said I would try and test it last week, but I didn't get time to. Instead, I wrote documentation, which was exciting in its own way. But we'll try and get that done soon.
So is this a problem that the fact that it's the H1 tags are not working as expected, sets-wise inherited from Drupal, like the Drupal sets, or is it something that we've changed and we've broken?
It is just the way Drupal does search too. So I think this is a kind of a long-standing issue with just the way the search system works. It's really complicated. And it doesn't work, I think, how it was originally intended. And I don't know when whatever change went in that made it not work that way. But I think it's something in how the SQL query is built. The search system doesn't actually use query objects because it was too complicated to convert the way search worked into a database query object when they did the transition from 6 to 7. So this might have been broken in all of Drupal 7. So we're trying to figure out how to get that cleaned up. Okay, so next up, so right now, modules, themes, and layouts pages are using combined fields filter. So I'm also investigating the possibility of doing a combined fields filter with weight on one field more than the other, which might be sort of a quick fix Band-Aid, but I do think we need to fix the issue with core search as a whole. So I would kind of prefer to do that if that's close. But anyway, moving on. Next, homepage demo link. Last week, we noticed some issues with Tugboat. So I don't know if Nate's had a chance to look into that or not, but we decided not to swap out the link on the homepage with the link to Tugboat until we were sure our Tugboat instance would be okay. So I think we're still kind of on hold with that one. But until that's ready, we can work on the more ways to get Backdrop CMS page, which I think we already have. I think Pantheon's on there. I think Platform's on there. I think Lando and DDEV are on there too, but we might want to look at that page as a whole and see if there aren't other things we might want to add, like other local setups, like maybe using MAMP or something like that, and just have a tutorial on how you would set up Backdrop in each of these instances. Not a long one, just like a couple paragraphs of like download, install, whatever.
Was the problem with the demo button caused on the Tugboat side? Because I think that maybe Nate said that he was trying something and he broke it. Was it my idea?
I don't know where it could be with our integration with Tugboat.
Okay.
I don't know.
If we did something to break, maybe just revert that change and then. Because I actually told quite a few guys that they can use it.
You can try it, only you can't try it.
And now it's not working at all for a week now.
Yeah, there's one change. It says updating tugboat CLI on Monday, February 11th. I could revert that and see what happens.
Yeah.
I did deploy the security update to backdropcms.org recently, so I was in the code base, so it shouldn't be too hard to just give that a go and see what happens. Hopefully it'll help. If not, we can revert the revert.
Yeah.
All right. So I would love to see progress on both switching out the tugboat link and building out the page with the other ways to do backdrop. So anyone can work on the more ways to do backdrop. I think we have a content type called I don't remember what it's called. There's a content type on the site, and all of those content types should appear on the other page in a view format. So we just need to make sure they look fine. And then link up the pages. All right, we had an issue here to add a pre-release block for backdrop. So before the next version of backdrop comes out, which is 1.3 on May 15th, we need to add a block into the developer section. And we could also add it, I was thinking, on the API site. That might be a good thing, would be like, hey, are you excited about backdrop? Check out the pre-release, and then have a link there as well. And that needs to be done by May 1st so that we can get the pre-release of the next version up there. So I don't know if it would be worthwhile just kind of putting the blocks in place and then disabling them for now. And then when we're ready to put it in, we can put in the new link to the actual pre-release and enable them. So that's something we could do at any time. Issue for that is number 499. Next one, this is something I was thinking of this week when I got an email from the backdropcms.org website, and I was thinking about sending our newsletter, and I was like, oh, it still bothers me that if I want to sign up for the newsletter, I have to do that through MailChimp, and if I want to sign up for security, I have to do that through the website. It would be nice if we could consolidate that. I was looking at the way Drupal.org does it, where they have like one page that has all your notifications with lots of different checkboxes. You can choose what to opt in and opt out. And if we're going to start doing like local event stuff, I think that would be a great place to add that checkbox and let people opt in there as well. So I just created an issue to set up integration with MailChimp. I think there's a fantastic MailChimp module for Drupal. We might just need to port that, and then it would give us that checkbox that does the automatic update of a MailChimp list somewhere. So we can give that a try. Next up is the user location map. This is something I think, Gregory, you brought up last week, or someone, about the ability to find other people near you. So we have sort of a contractor search. So if you said, yes, I'm available for hire, people who are trying to hire you can find you by location. But it would be great if we just had sort of a community building section of the site where you could just find people nearby, or even maybe on your profile page, we could put in a map and be like, hey, here's people near you, as long as they have chosen to be displayed on the map. So that issue is number 505.
Yeah, in general, if people are hesitant to say what their location is, at least find a way to gather groups of people, like local groups. Maybe they don't want to set their profile, the location on their profile, but they don't mind being part of, say, Backdrop Australia or Backdrop England, whatever.
Give us the continent. That's close enough.
Yes, at least that. So we can,
if I could just update on our last meeting. So first of all, I've been really busy lately, so I haven't been keeping up with the things I promised to do. But one of them was last time we talked about this, and I mentioned that, like, what is the best way for people to find each other? And in a lot of meetups right now, meetup.com is the way that's working, right? And it's like, I was trying to think of creative ways we might, and I had agreed to spend a little bit of time looking at how Meetup is working right now. The problem with Meetup is that there aren't really critical masses in most communities, and you have to, Meetup has moved to more of a pay model where I don't think you can do much without paying. So I was trying to see if there was any way we could have a central Meetup account that we could, and use it in a way to help local individual chapters. And I don't think it's set up to work that way. But I think it's still worth seeing if we might be able to hack it a little bit.
Yeah, I think that I've seen like there's no way to group things that are Meetup, sort of like super group or something like that. So there's no Drupal Meetup and then subgroups of that per continent, say, or per interest. Right. You have to have a separate Meetup group.
Right.
And I think there's a different meetup group for Melbourne. There's a different one for Sydney. I can sure.
And I actually set one up for the Twin Cities. And Jen, you weren't on the call last time. I don't know if you watched, but I have like 15 or 20 people that have signed up for our local backdrop meetup, most of whom I don't have any idea who they are. And my guess is a lot of them are just serial sign-uppers that just sign up for lots of meetups and don't even know what backdrop is. But it's kind of, but I have the ability to communicate with like 15 or 20 people that have signed up for the Twin Cities backdrop user group. So
that's not necessarily bad.
Go ahead.
No, that's not necessarily bad. That's what I said. Like,
right.
Word of mouth eventually will get people.
Sure, but but I have to pay for that like monthly, So.
What is the cost, by the way, just out of interest?
I forget. I think it's actually like $15 or $20 a month. I think it's a little more than I thought it was when I went back and looked. But anyways, so I don't know. I've looked a little bit from what Gregory's saying. I'm not sure that we can hack a meetup for our purposes, but if anybody has any other ideas, groups.drupal.org was sort of how the Drupal community started to do it, but I really think that most Drupal groups have moved over to Meetup, or a lot of them have. I think it's still a mix, but Twin Cities, we do both. So anyways, that's all I have to say.
Yep. I have no other ideas at the moment. The only thing that I've been trying to do is I don't actively or proactively do that. It's just a habit. So every time there's news on Backdrop, I just rehash that on the Australia New Zealand channel, for example, the Slack channel that Drupal has, hoping that I'm not being, invasive or.
Okay. So let me throw something out, which is, I don't think we have enough people interested in this feature to put a lot of time into building anything sophisticated. But what we could do is rely on a little bit of manual work, at least for now, and just say, I'd like to give people the opportunity to say, I'd like to be contacted when, there are 5 people in my geographic area that are interested in Backdrop. And we just, every couple of months, kind of look through and see if there's any groups that have reached that threshold, and then put them in touch with each other. And that isn't sustainable, but it might be a good temporary solution until there's a couple of those communities, at which point we say, okay, now we need a better solution.
Yeah. So do you want to do that with the user profile location data, or should we set up something else that allows people to opt into a specific area?
I don't know enough about the way we're collecting data on either forums or backdrop.org to know the best way to do that. And that's a good question. Where would we use it?
So I think my first instinct was we should just do something with tags and let people be tag areas you'd be interested in, whatever. And I could put in Oakland, Berkeley, San Francisco, Bay Area. And then we could just look tag cloud style, which tags have the most people, and then scan down. And that way, if it was free tagging like that, if you started typing Bay and somebody had put in San Francisco Bay Area, you might choose the same one. But it would also give you the ability to add your own areas. And that would be really low work, architecturally on the site, add a tag field, right? And it would give us a little bit more insight into where people are located or where they would be willing to travel even for groups. So
as a free type vocabulary, you mean in the profile?
Yeah,
that's not a bad idea for a start.
Yeah, it's just something that would be really quick and easy and might provide the exact utility we want. And I think it doesn't give us the hierarchy of oh, well, you said Berkeley, but there's something in Bay Area, right? But that, I think, in order to get that kind of control, we would really need something that was location aware, and that might be beyond the scope of what we want to do ourselves anyway.
Right.
I'll see if there's any I'm not aware of, but it seems like a need that someone would have scratched before. I'll see if there's a module in d.org that sort of works that way, and if we can report it.
There might also be something clever we could do with we set up a tagging like an autocomplete term widget on a vocabulary that has hierarchy, and like on the back end we administer the hierarchy, but on the front end you still interact with it as like free tagging. And then that way we could, like, if someone adds something that's obviously a set of something else, we could group it. But I don't know how all that would, like, just an idea. I don't know if it actually work that way. But yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, but good idea. There might be something.
Just to be clear, so what we're suggesting is that we collect this data. Maybe people could see how many people in their area are interested, but in order for them to actually contact each other, I don't know, would we be asking them to sort of give us permission to then at some point just send out an email and say?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't necessarily think we should be allowing, like, facilitating contact between people, because people have, like, opted in and out to their individual contact forms. They can contact each other directly if they want. But what we could do is say, like, notify me when 5 people in my area are interested in Backdrop. Yes, no. And we could send an email out to, like, everybody in that group that's like, hey, there are other people who are in your area. Please go communicate in the forum, or just something that like puts them in touch with each other, and in a way that's very like opt-in, not so much like we're going to spam you when this happens, but like we'll let you know so you can do it if you want.
Is there a way for users to contact each other on the forum site?
I don't know. I would love to revisit this like integration of all our sites problem with the bakery module, so that we don't have to enable the same features on multiple sites, so that we can just be like, your user profile and all your user data is on the main site. Contact each other that way, do everything that way. And then we can merge the people, right? Like we can take like the backdropcms.org site is the canonical source, but check all the usernames and emails. And if there are ones that are new, like create user accounts on the main site, and then just use that database table as like, that's the login data. And then, yeah, I would rather do that than try and figure out how to enable stuff on the forum site. But until we get there, let's just ask people to use the contact forms on the main site. Sure. And that will mean that they'll have to create a separate account if they don't have one already.
Sure. Could one other thing be that we encourage, if somebody in Phoenix is looking for other people doing Backdrop in Phoenix, that they just open a topic in the meetups and events page. Yep. Say, hey, I'm looking for people in the Phoenix area.
Yep.
And there won't be a private way for them to communicate on the forum site, but they can either reply publicly or they can, you know, figure out how to contact.
Yeah, yeah, that would be great.
So the forum allows for subtopics, right?
Well, there's categories of topics and then there's individual topics. So
yeah, so maybe we could start a local meetups topic.
There's a meetups and events category. So I don't know if we just use that or if we create a new one.
Yeah, we could either use that if I'm not, because I don't lurk around the forums, but if there is one, just use the existing one and then create subcategories there per location, per continent, country, whatever, what have you.
Right.
Yeah, that would work too.
Okay. Good enough. We should move on.
Yep.
Good ideas. All right, next up is blog posts. So right now we have a post up that is announcing Backdrop 112. I contacted the folks at Facet about writing a newsletter last week based on that, and they said they were going to do it. So I'll follow up with them today and see if it's done. If so, we'll get that scheduled and out as soon as possible, because I want to publish the next blog post that's on there. I was also thinking, since we were just talking about it now, a good idea for another blog post is promoting this free tagging category. If we're going to add that to backdropcms.org, where it's like, oh, add the geographic regions in which you're interested in being contacted about Backdrop events. Or that was a very long way to label a field, but whatever we end up deciding to call that, this might be a good place to put a call to that somewhere, either like an existing blog post or in a new blog post that's like, hey, want to meet people in your area, fill out this field in your profile. And then maybe we'll get some initial population of that data from that promotion.
Of course, we need to be careful with the wording, as in not meet people in your area, and be specific about Backdrop.
Yep. That would be similar. Again, I think, Jen, you weren't on the, or were you? Gregory did the thing about adding Backdrop to your profile on Drupal.org, and we did a quick little blog post.
Yeah.
On that, and that was.
Oh yeah, That's a good way, yeah.
This would be similar to that.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel like we should do it as 2 separate blog posts just because we're short on blog content.
No, yeah. I think, yeah.
But it's not along the same lines. Of
we've already done the other blog post. It's already,
oh, is it live?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was.
I saw it in draft last time, but I haven't checked.
I hope it's.
I think it was published. If you're talking about, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, do we have spam? We have spam in the news and announcements.
What?
A bunch of it.
Oh, they're not supposed to get published. Oh, that's okay. They're all unpublished.
That's good. And looks like Gregory's is unpublished too. We got to publish your blog post, Gregory.
Well, we were going to wait until.
Oh, I see.
Until we got the newsletter out, so that the top post was going to be the one on the new release. But it's getting to be kind of a while since that. So I am lukewarm on not publishing the blog post. If you want to publish it, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, it's just Matt B. Quinn and Oscar Awards that's plugging up our thing. That's okay. We can use some content. Another thing too is I set up the Akismet module or Askimet or whatever, however it's pronounced, but I'm not paying for it yet. I think if I pay for it, we get better spam protection. So I have a note to go through and add a credit card there so that we can help our spam issue on all of our sites.
On that topic, I added an agenda item on the forum site where we had the same problem. We started moderating new users, and my friend Wilbur, Wilbur, tried signing up yesterday and got blocked.
Yeah, that's everybody gets blocked instantly when they sign up.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, so we're not ready. You haven't paid for the Askimet yet, whatever. So we can't undo that yet.
No, I need to put a credit card, and Nate has the credit card, but I'll go steal it from him after this meeting and see if I can get it in there. But yeah, we need to put a credit card in the Akismet account, and then we'll be able to put as many domains as we want on it to protect, and it'll charge us by usage, I think.
So in the meantime, when somebody registers, does anybody get notified so that we can approve them if they're real?
Nope.
So we just need to check that more often. I haven't been looking at that. And
I've had a couple of people email me via the info@Backdrop email address, and they're like, "It just created an account on the forum," and I'm like, "So sorry, you're in." Yep. But yeah, it seems like that should not be our normal working process. Right. And I also don't know how to necessarily tell when you look at one of these profiles if they're human or not. So after I got one of the emails, I went and looked at them, and I'm like, I don't know. They could all be robots.
Right.
So that's also tough.
Okay. Can we? This is really happy, but can we add a note in the email they get saying, if you don't get approved, contact us?
We can.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely do that because that system, Can you do that, Tim? Do you have access to that email form? Yeah, just add a link.
Pretty sure I do. Yeah, I'll do that.
Let me know if you don't.
Yep.
I think you do too, but okay, that'd be great. Community spotlight. There's so many great people I want to spotlight these days, but I have a meeting with the folks at Facet next Wednesday afternoon to talk about that. I'm going to ask them if they can kind of kick that up and start doing some of the interviews for us. But yeah, it'll be good to get moving on those.
So I'm going to be really vocal today because
go ahead.
Thinking about a bunch of things. So I've been hearing about the Facet group for a long time, and I don't know. Could you just give me a little more context?
Sure. Yeah.
Who they are and what their commitment is?
Yeah, so let's see. I originally met with Jordan Ryan, who's one of the founders of Facet, at Drupal Camp LA a couple of years ago. And I was giving a talk on Backdrop, and he came up to me afterwards, and he was like, you should, your pitch should really be more like this. And it was very marketing and brand and pitch aware. And I was like, oh, wow, you really know a lot of this stuff. Like, what is it that you do? And he's like, oh, I run this, marketing agency. And I was like, ooh. And so I started talking to him, and he sounded like he was really supportive of Backdrop. And he was like, look, we have some people who can donate some time. If you need time for someone to work on some stuff for you, we'd love to help with that. We would like to help set up a partner program, whatever it is that you guys need. And so their team gave us a couple hours a week for 2 years. and we just weren't generating content fast enough to have them involved for most of that time. And so I think it was in middle of last year, like June or July or something, they were like, we've noticed you're not using all of this time that we've set aside for you. Would it be okay if we changed our commitment to like an hour to a month rather than an hour to a week? And I was like, oh yeah, that would definitely be fine. And so what they're doing for us now is writing newsletters, scheduling and sending them out in MailChimp. They advise on, like they wrote our documentation on like how to write a blog post page that we have that's talking about like branding and capitalization and stuff like that. But they are sort of on call for us if we need more help. And a couple meetings ago when I talked to them, I said one of the things I thought would be good to have them do is help us with this featured contributor section where we can do our community spotlight, because being not part of Backdrop, they would be a great people to like conduct this interview and ask, good follow-up questions about, why are you interested in Backdrop, and then getting the whole story out of people. And so we had Tom doing those for a while when he had time, Tom Grandy. And then when he stopped, it sort of has always been in the back of my mind, like, oh, that would be great to turn that over to Facet, and he could come up with some of our people or whoever, they have working on our stuff to follow up with those. So they've promised time. I emailed with them last week. They said they were really busy, but they wanted to get us back on their schedule. And so that's why we're going to start meeting again.
Okay. And you said they've been they haven't done any newsletters recently, have they?
I think they've scheduled almost all the newsletters we've done. Like I'll send them like your blog post and they turn it into a newsletter and plug it into MailChimp and schedule it.
I guess my point is that in early January, I created content for a whole newsletter.
Yeah.
Shared it with you to share with them. That never got used, did it? I mean, there hasn't been a newsletter since January, has there?
There has. I think we sent one for. No, so we haven't sent a newsletter since 1/11. So the newsletter that they're working on right now is the newsletter for 1/12. So that should be the one that's going to go out next.
Okay.
That's probably the content that you put together.
Okay, but we're talking about a monthly newsletter, right? Not just
we want a monthly newsletter.
Yeah. Well,
that is the goal to get there.
Sure. So this is a little out of order in the agenda, but so I, created kind of a template, I guess, of my own for the kinds of content that could be updated pretty quickly, and then additionally added to on a monthly basis. But I feel right now like there's kind of a blocker, because it's like, okay, if I have the time and I'm able to do that, then what happens to it?
Yeah. So maybe I'll talk to them about this next week too, but it might be good to just get more people on the MailChimp account, and then they would not be our block there in terms of sending them out. I mean, I have access to it. I can give it to you, but I just want to make sure that they know that we're doing that, so that we're all, not confused about who's doing what.
Well, right. And I don't know. I understand the value of having one point person, but just to make sure that that they're aware of, if I do create that content, that we know that they're aware of it so they can act on it.
Yeah.
And that it's not getting lost. Okay.
Yep. That sounds good. Like, you have it. Let's use it. Yeah.
Sure. And this came up, Jeff just wrote a blog post, and he was asking about getting it into the newsletter. So we need to settle on where to drop in. Like, to me, there could be a template. It could be a Google Doc for the next issue of the newsletter. And if anybody comes up with anything, they can just add it.
Yeah. So I think Facet has one of those, but it's like tied to their internal system somehow.
Sure.
Like they have some like content drafting thing, which we wouldn't have access to.
Right.
So I think it would be good for us to figure out how to manage it internally for ourselves as well.
Right. Okay.
All right. Backdrop Planet. I think the to-do there was setting up aggregator on.
Sorry, Jen, you're echoing now. Sorry.
Is it me that's echoing? How's that?
Sounds good.
Better?
I think so, yeah.
I just turned my volume way down, so I can hardly hear you guys, but
Oh.
as long as it's not echoing. Okay. Backdrop Planet, we have to set up aggregator module, and then we need to figure out how to let people opt into that. But I think it's a good idea. I don't know where the to-dos are on this, but it has not seen any progress yet. Forums, we talked about that already, trying to figure out our spam thing. To do there is add credit card. And then newsletter we talked about a little bit. Hopefully that will start going out soon. But yeah, I totally agree with him that we need a better internal process for what to do in terms of sending out newsletters. Even if Facet is involved, I think it would be good to get like some timeline idea about, you know, when we submit something, give them a week or something, and if they don't respond, then we take it back. And we're like, okay, we've got some people who have some time, let's get it done. And then that way we can have sort of a process around that. And even if we have our own template is like Google Doc dumped in MailChimp, that's probably fine. I think on their end they have something that's a little bit more sophisticated. It's like a moderation state queue where they like put it in and it has like a design review and content review and it gets scheduled. I don't know that we need that for most of our newsletters. They're not very complicated. And if we only have one person working on it, then I think that's would be good to get our own way to get it done.
Yep.
All right. Videos. Guess who made a video this week?
I saw that. Congratulations.
A year later. So I tweeted about it yesterday. I don't know if there's anywhere else I should post it. I think I have a couple of issues on backdropcms.org where people have asked about it. I wanted to go through and update those. But it was like the best possible scenario where I was like, oh, I'm about to record a text. I'm going to start a video. And I was like, I don't know if this will work or not. And then it worked. And I was like, whoa, it totally worked. So that was great. It made the video look fantastic. Although I didn't actually change anything in the module. So it was an easy one to test for. But yeah, that was great. And it was I think it was the only thing was about like 10 minutes long or something. So it's not unbearable to watch. And it did, like the tests are really different between Drupal and Backdrop. So I think it's useful to have that tutorial, but once people see it, they'll realize that even though it's really different, like the amount of work you have to get it to do is very, very to get it to work from the way Drupal did it. So yay, finally wrote a video. I know there's a couple more on here I've been wanting to do, but anyone else has video stuff? Tim, I think, oh, you're unmuted. Do you have a comment there?
Am I unmuted?
Oh, no, I just can't hear you.
I was just going to say, to get word out about that, I don't know if you could, and make it more searchable, could you add a few notes and put it on a blog post or even a forum discussion post to just sort of say, I don't know, just a couple high-level comments about it, and then...
I was thinking it might make good content for a blog post, but then the thought of writing a blog post really made me not happy.
Well, and I was hesitant to bring it up because I don't want to assign you a blog post. But what I was suggesting is maybe it's just a synopsis, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that.
I thought so too. And I was like, there's a description field on the YouTube video thing. I could just plug something in there. And then I was like, well, probably I'll write that, and then I'll be like, I should put this in a blog post anyway, and it won't be so bad. But there's just like the thought of it was like preventing me from doing it. But yeah, I like that. I'll just start with the description and see what it turns out.
Jen, I'm trying to find the video. Is it on our official?
It is. So I added it to our tutorials channel, I think. YouTube, Backdrop, CMS. I don't know how to find our channels. Let's see. Playlists, maybe? Channels. Playlists. Playlists. It's under instructional videos, maybe. I don't see it.
I don't see it there because I was looking before.
Well, I tried to add it. I will try again. It says updated yesterday. View full playlist.
If you could also just
It's at the bottom.
post the link on Gitter once it's available somewhere.
Okay, here's the instructional videos playlist.
I have that.
Okay.
I know how to find that, but it's not there.
It is. It's the last one. Number 7. Yeah, I don't know why they should be going in the other order. But.
Okay, got it now.
Okay. So yeah, I think other ways to promote this content from anyone would be good. Like I was thinking aggregator, Planet, blog post on backdropcms.org, Twitter, forum topic, newsletter. I don't know, just ideas of like how do we tell people when we do something.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Facebook keeps telling me every week that I have a bunch of people who've liked the backdrop page who haven't heard from you in a while. And I think that's because Facebook stopped the like auto post from Twitter onto Facebook feature for pages. Anyway, it's not automatically posting our Twitter stuff anymore, and I don't know why. So I don't know what to do about that exactly. Anyone has any insight like watching this video, let me know.
Yep, let's put a note to think about that.
Yeah. Anything super relevant going on in the world of backdrop we should tweet about?
Yeah, I've slacked off the last few weeks, but I'll try to get back on it. I've been trying to do it.
There's a lot of tweeting this week about the security releases.
Mm-hmm.
Something I can think that's relevant. If we wanted to write a blog post about backdrop security procedure stuff, that's been kind of on our list for a while. It may be a good week to do that. I don't know who would be the right person for that. I feel like it might be good to have somebody who isn't like Nate or Jeff or someone on the security team write that and be like, this is what it feels like to be part of backdrop when they're doing security stuff. And I know, Gregory, you did a great post a while ago that was sort of like that, where you were like, we're going to save the world together, which was great. But just something more about like maintaining a backdrop site, like when do the releases come out in relation to Drupal? How do they decide how many versions? Whatever. I don't know. Maybe we should have Nate or Jeff. That's what's my idea. Other places we should be talking about backdrop. I don't know them. Anyone has ideas, let us know. Meetings and events. Florida Drupal Camp.
Let me just say quick, do you remember last year you and Nate were down there and on Sprint Day, there was a guy who would come from like Phoenix or somewhere or to
Texas, I think.
Texas. Yeah, he's working with Maryland on a site. So I had talked to Wes Ruklava about maybe doing a BOF, but they really didn't have like a BOF schedule or anything. So we were kind of iffy on it. And then that guy came up to me and he's like, hey, is there going to be a backdrop BOF? And I'm like, there is now. And we just said, let's all meet after the sessions on Saturday. And we ended up going and actually BOFing at the bowling alley. And there were 5 of us. We had Wes, myself, Jonathan Dagerhart, that guy, and one other. And we actually had about a really good, say, hour-long discussion about backdrop and talked about things that were going on. And Wes talked a little bit about the Views UI stuff that he wants to do, and it was a really substantial BOF. So
that's great.
Yep. And then Wes and I talked beyond that, had some good discussions. So that's what happened. I had some other individual conversations with people about backdrop, but nothing else formal.
Would you be interested in writing up a blog post about Florida Drupal Camp?
Sure.
That would be great. Next event, I think, is Midwest Camp. And then I noticed Asheville.
Yeah, they're like in July. I was going to put, the Twin Cities Camp is looking to be early June.
The Twin Cities in June, Asheville in July. Mid Camp is March.
Yep, it's like a month from now, I think.
Stanford Drupal Camp is usually April.
Yeah, I just saw their website yesterday. I think somebody tweeted about it.
Okay. I don't know what's coming up other than that, but if anyone hears of stuff going on and they'd be interested in hearing about backdrop, we can definitely add them to the backdrop events page. So So that'd be good. I've submitted a bunch of talks to the Drupal Camp Asheville camp, but I'm not entirely sure they want them. But I figured I'll give them a bunch of options, and then if they only want one, that's fine. If they want more than one, that's also fine. So we'll see. And then let's see, meetups. Do you want to talk about this, Tim?
The virtual user group.
Virtual user group.
Things that I've been kicking I promised 2 weeks ago to get it on the schedule, and I didn't. My buddy and I know Jen, you know Wilbur. I don't know if he's listening today. He's working on some backdrop sites right now, and he pinged me this morning, and he's like, "When's the next virtual user group?"
Nice.
I see the virtual user group as an opportunity to create some videos, and so even if there's just a few of us, I think we have a good outcome. So I'd love to give people more notice, but because it's been a while, I'm considering just if I get it up on the schedule today, would next Tuesday be too early for the two of you?
Nope, that'd be great.
Okay, and Wilbur's confirmed that he's available, so there'd be at least 4 of us.
I like the previous one; it went really well.
Yeah.
And see how I mentioned the training days session that was that happened 2 days ago. Last week it was. Sorry. So there was a mention about people like configuration in D8, how they would like to have a better interface, which is like more like feature-like, so that they can select like specific configuration to export, as in a group of configuration, which is like what features you used to do. Like you'd select something and then it would auto-detect dependencies and select that as well. So it's good. It was good to hear that this came up during the virtual user group meetup that we had, and it's good to see that what was mentioned in our group is also in the minds of people using D8 configuration, because they expect the same thing. They expect feature-like features from CMI, in other words.
I want those too. I often. Oh, sorry, Tim. I'm muted.
I think we're going to do my plan was to do layouts for the next user group, though, because that's what we had previously decided. We could come back to configuration management again sometime soon.
I was only mentioning that just to say that it was very useful and interesting. We should definitely do something different. Like layouts is a really great topic for next time. Yeah. There's also a lot of issues. I think we also have a meta for the layouts, like small improvements that we would like to get in, more features that are missing from what was able to be done with Display Suite, Panelizer, panels everywhere, like small features that are not as easy, or UI improvements as well.
So I think we need to wrap up this meeting, and I went and loaded the agenda up. Can I go out of order and just quickly talk about 2 things?
Yep,
yes.
Sure.
And we can table, for more discussion later, but I want to at least get them both out there. One of which is this issue I have about just doing I don't want to set anyone else's agenda, but I'd like to spend a week where I try and address some of the issues in the forum. So there's an issue in Git about kind of having like a week-long sprint where I just focus on backdrop forum issues and encourage other people to help me out. But if they don't, that's fine. And I want to set a marker in the sand, like, hey, this is the week I'm going to really focus on that, and encourage other people to get involved. And we don't need to have a big discussion about that. But if you have any feedback, let me know, or comment on the issue. The other topic I think is more important. So, any questions? Go ahead.
No, with forums, unfortunately myself, I sort of like I don't find it as a good fit for me as a means to communicate things. But Wilmot is very active, or at least was. I'm not sure what his capacity, his spare time is at the moment, but reach out to him because he was interested.
Sure. The other thing was this backdrop minicamp. I just want to throw this idea out there, and I'm thinking about it right now because I'm bored with Twin Cities Drupal Camp, and I'm looking for ways to keep myself interested and engaged in doing something different, like help. It doesn't have to be this idea, but certainly, Jen, I don't know if you and Nate think, I know you come every year to the Twin Cities. I'm not sure if you can keep that up. But
well,
if you
are going to come this year, but if there's a Backdrop mini camp.
I don't know if our camp is the best place to do it. It might be Bad Camp is a good place to do it, but I thought if we identified some camp where we did like a mini camp, and my thought is it's a training day or a summit day, and we actually recruit speakers and like record the sessions that this, you know, and not have super high expectations. For me, it's like if we had 10 people that came, that would be pretty good, right? And it's starting to be a proof of concept that we could then expand upon down the road.
Yeah.
So I wanted to at least get that idea out there because Twin Cities Drupal Camp planning is just gearing up. And if I want to get that, you know, I think it's a super friendly camp to Backdrop. And we could, you know, I could work on getting something like that on the agenda if it makes sense, but I want to know what the interest level is and if that's too soon. And if we, you know, Bad Camp might be a more logical place to do this, but.
I think it's worth giving it a try. I mean, I think we can come up with content. We've got a lot of great people who can give sessions. We can do, you know, even just discussions about like migration or something. Like it doesn't have to be a presentation in the same way. I think we could still get a lot of good content that way too. I would love it if you would propose that at the planning meetings and see what everybody thinks. And if the rest of the organizing committee doesn't think that that can get done this year, I would also love to sort of be like, even if you think this isn't realistic this year, I want to plant the seed for next year, because that's also something that, you know, might take more time to figure out how to do in conjunction with another event. I think we could probably also help, I don't know what the expense situation is going to be like, but we could probably help wrangle sponsors and stuff if we needed extra sponsorship for Backdrop Day. So.
Right. A couple quick things on that. I think, so like we've funded or we've hosted a training for previous years. So my thought is this mini camp would just be like a single track, so it wouldn't take any more resources, right? It would be the same room that we would have had anyways. I think it could be discussions or presentations. My thought is that we would undertake responsibility for that, like for scheduling it. So we wouldn't ask the camp, like undertake any extra schedule coordinating. All they're doing is committing to the space and sort of putting it on the agenda. I think the biggest thing that might be a little controversial was I'd kind of like for us to be able to market it as a separate event that's happening in conjunction with the TC Drupal camp, right? And I don't know if there'd be any pushback on that idea or not. I don't think so, but.
Well, in order to attend a training, do you have to pay to attend the camp?
It has been that way in the past. We did do a free intro to Drupal training 1 year. So you didn't, for just that one training, the intro to Drupal, you didn't have to register for camp. But all of our other trainings have required that you register for camp because they're free and it's included in your registration.
Yeah.
So
I think we could do something like that also, where it would be like only attending this day, pay $25. Right. Attending the rest of the camp, it's free. Something like that, where we get money from people either way, where either they pay for the whole camp and then the training is free, or they only go to 1 day, but they have to pay for their attendance for that day.
Sure.
That would be fine.
Just for my benefit, I'm familiar with the idea, with the notion of Drupal camps compared to Drupal cons. What is a mini camp? Is it
1 day
that we just invented now, or is it something that is happening anyways?
I've never heard of it before. I just made it up. Other people might have used it, but
so is it sort of like cooking when camp is happening, just making sure that we have some space, and then
right. The idea was to make it sort of a semi-autonomous event, co-located with another event, right? And it feels like to call it a Backdrop camp
or a day camp,
right next to Twin Cities Drupal camp, which is 4 days. That just would feel weird. So I just put mini as like, oh, here's a small camp next to a big camp.
All right, and it would happen concurrently, like the same dates as the main event.
Well, the idea was there's still a little bit of uncertainty, but Twin Cities Drupal Camp has went this way in the past. Thursday was training, Friday and Saturday were sessions. So on Thursday, we have had a backdrop training for the last couple of years during the training day. My thought is we do the mini camp that day. So some people would be coming and going to Drupal trainings, or they would come to the backdrop mini camp, and then they could stay for the Drupal camp.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't conflict.
I like that. I also think like people who maybe wouldn't come to a Drupal training might come to a backdrop camp, and people who might not want to go to the Drupal camp might come to only. It's kind of a perfect thing because right now backdrop and Drupal are so close in terms of like people who already are running Drupal 7. Like having the events close too is also good, but it gives us the focus to be like, we're going to talk about backdrop before the Drupal camp. We're going to talk about Drupal during the Drupal camp. So people can kind of wear the right hat or choose the right thing to attend. I think it's a great idea. And I would love to work with, Twin Cities Camp this year, maybe Bad Camp this fall, any other camp that we think would be interested, maybe Florida Drupal Camp next year. I don't know, whatever we can think of doing to kind of put the two together, I think would be great.
I think I could make the argument that sort of picking just one the first year, because hopefully the idea would be to get some people to like identify, oh, that's the event I want to go to learn about backdrop. But maybe two isn't bad, bad.
Well, I feel like so we're in this issue where like we need people to attend, which is good. But I also feel like we need to get backdrop to people in more than one area. And so even if the content was the same this year and we did it at like 3 places, I feel like we can get different people in each of those 3 places. So you'll get maybe 1 or 2 that'll happen to be at both. But it's not so much like a oh, I want to go to all the Drupal camps because I'm going to get different content at each one. Mm-hmm. This is more like we're bringing the content to people here and then here and then here. And I think that it could be a good test run for be like, how does it work as a mini camp? And do we have the right content? And is it a convincing message? And I think that maybe over time we can be like, okay, we're going to have a bunch of mini camps, but then we'll have a real camp. And that's the one that everybody travels to. But I don't think we're there yet for that one. I do think that maybe not overdoing it, especially if we don't know if it's going to work, is good. And if we want to only do 1 this year and you want that to be Twin Cities Camp, I'm also totally fine with that because you're the one that's gearing this up and you're the one that's passionate about making it happen. And I would love to, do what you want. Uh-oh, is Tim frozen?
Could be. Yeah.
We lost him. There he is.
Thing?
Maybe?
No.
Well, I want to do what Tim wants. But I think we should end this meeting and start the other one. Are you back?
Yeah.
No, he's still frozen. We're still thinking. Hopefully he'll join the other meeting and we can tell him that he can do what he wants.
Sure. All right, let's wrap this up and meet for the dev meeting.
Okay. See you guys in a minute.
See ya.